because there's so many other things we need to do before we do offset. And the majority of hard to abate sector, which I always rename full of opportunities sector, the majority of those sectors have technical way of reducing CO2. Not easy, and that's why the word easy is so important, but offset becomes a distraction. They need to fully focus on doing that because there is not enough land on the planet to offset for all the CO2 we're emitting. So we don't have a choice. We need to reduce our emissions.
Welcome to Big Time Sustainability.
Big Time Sustainability is brought to you by Center for Big Synergy, and it is a United Nations Global Goals initiative.
On this show, global leaders and changemakers tell us how they are combating major challenges like climate change, loss of biodiversity, hunger, poverty, inequality, and many more.
Big Time Sustainability aims to inspire all of us to follow these leaders and act with urgency to create a more sustainable world.
If you are a changemaker or know someone who is making a big difference in their community or globally and should be on this show, please email us at podcast@thebigsynergy.org or visit www.thebigsynergy.org.
Hello everyone, welcome to Big Time Sustainability. This is your host Dr. Ragini G Roy, and today with us we have the incredible Magali Anderson. Hi Magali, how are you?
Hi Randy, I'm really great. I'm not sure if I'm that incredible, but I'm really great.
All right. Now you have made a great impact all across sustainability and the fields in which you have worked in and the industries you have worked in. So of course you deserve that incredible title. And there are some more titles that I have noticed within the awards that you have got. So we will discuss that as we go forward. So to start off, Magali, for the benefit of our global audience, if you could please tell us a bit more about your personal and professional journey so far, that would be great.
So thank you very much for asking, and really happy to be here today with you and sharing that with, like you said, this international audience. I'm coming from, I would say, low middle class family, and I was the first with a big degree in my family. So, one of those where you come from a little village and should stay in the little village, but for some reason I did not. And I studied engineering at that time. I just wanted to get out of that village. I wanted to do something, but I had no idea what. So I graduated as an engineer, and I just wanted adventure, and that's how I started. My very first job was to work on an offshore rig in Nigeria, only woman with 80 men. And you have to remember it was a time when there was no internet, there was no place to find information, but also no way to communicate with people. So it was a pretty tough start of my journey. I spent 27 years in the oil and gas industry. And the reason I went there was for the adventure, but also for the science. It's a very scientific-based industry, and I love science. I love being challenged on science, and I love tackling challenges on science. So that's the reason why I was there. My career went all over in terms of geography, all over in terms of jobs. I think I did more or less everything. I was in supply chain, I was in marketing, I was a P&L owner, I was a manufacturing manager, etc., which was absolutely fantastic because it gives you this type of profile where you kind of understand a little bit of everything. I'm not true expert on anything really, but I am expert enough to be dangerous. And about 7 years ago, I had one of those wake-up moments, and I guess at reaching the 50-year-old thing, some people buy a sporty car. In my case, I want to give a purpose to my life. And that's when I left and I became head of health and safety for the group Holcim. And I thought getting up every morning to save lives was pretty nice. We had a lot of accidents at that time, and we made a huge impact in a very short time. And that was really fantastic feeling. So when my boss came to me and said, we're creating the Chief Sustainability Officer, are you interested? I thought, you know what? I thought getting up every morning to save people's life was great. I think getting up every morning to save the planet sounds just even better.
Yeah, that's
And
not something to do. Yeah.
exactly. And that's how I became Chief Sustainability Officer. We added innovation a bit later. We felt it makes sense. And I've done that for 4 years. And now I'm in a pause because I want to think of my next move. How can I have a bigger impact somewhere else? Sorry, I was a bit long, but this is 34 years of career, which I was trying to reduce in a few minutes.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for that, Magali. So going through your career in general, as you have said, you started as an engineer and then you progressed to become the Chief Sustainability Officer at Holcim. And you have got loads of awards going forward, and you've also been crowned as one of the badass women shaping climate action. How do you feel about that? And what actually inspires you to personally to do more to help businesses and the society so that they can evolve into sustainable ways?
I actually was really proud to be one of the 25 badass women because, and I think a lot of my friends told me, this is not surprising. One of my curse and one of my qualities as well is that I am not very good at lying. I'm not very good at not saying what I think, which sometimes when you are evolving in the corporate world can be a bit of a curse, but it helps you feeling good because you've never compromised your value. And my entire life has been that way. I've always decided not to compromise my values and to always look at what's the best for the company, but also for the planet. And because I am kind of a Jane of all trades, as I was explaining before, it allows me to understand what corporation needs, because I understand enough of everything to understand how corporation moves. And this is really great when you want to make them move in maybe a little bit unusual directions, which is a directions of good before profit, but it allows to mix both. And I think that's what I've been striving for. I think companies need to make money because that's what the DNA is all about. You will not stop that. But how can you twist it in such a way that they can make money and while doing the right things? And that's what drives me, really.
Oh, brilliant. So in your previous roles at Holcim, where you have worked as a chief sustainability officer, what are the things that you think you have achieved and really, really proud of going, when you look back, and what can you advise others that in an industry which is pretty hard to sometimes navigate, are things achievable from the climate point of view?
Yeah, it was, I'm extremely proud of a lot of things. Certainly, the first one is the fact that we were the first company in our industry to have a net zero target, which was associated to a science-based target initiative commitment. So everything we did there had to be rigorous and science-based. So there was no greenwashing, no empty promises. Everything had an action plan behind, etc. And this is where my background was really helpful. And I'm really proud because it took us 1 year to come up with a net zero pledge between the moment I was nominated and the moment we came out with. I think it's the longest project I've ever worked on, or longest strategy I've ever worked on. But the reason it took 1 year is because it's the time that we needed to get the buy-in from the entire organization, from the operation people all the way to the board. And that was absolutely critical. It cannot be just top down. Top down doesn't work and bottom up doesn't work either. So it had to be a mix of both. And that requires a lot of time. And you shouldn't try to shorten it. Because if you do, you are at a big risk of either greenwashing or announcing something that without anyone's buying, and then you won't be able to deliver later. So I think it's important to take take the time it needed to come up with your strategy and then make the big announcement. Frankly, it was not easy because it was new. It was something that no one had done before. And this is an industry which is quite conservative. So no one really wants to be first movers, you know. If you're in the IT industry, everyone wants to be the first mover, but not in the construction one. So I think it was the biggest complexity was to explain that we would be opening a track and that would be okay, that we would not get too much backlash and so on. So I'm really proud that 3 years after announcing our net zero strategy, there hasn't been any substantiated accusation of greenwashing, even though I'm sure a lot of people tried. That's one of. But I'm also very proud of what we did on the nature side and on the people side, which sometimes nature is coming to people's agenda, but has been for a long time the forgotten child of sustainability, which I think is sad because nature is at least as important as climate and maybe even more. And so in Holcim, we came up with a nature strategy where we have, again, a science-based commitment on improving our biodiversity index. And then we were one of the, I think, of the 7 first companies in the world to do that. Because no one had ever done it before, again, not just our industry, even outside. And that's why we were selected by Science Based Target Network, so the equivalent of SBTI, but SBTN for nature, to be one of the first 17 companies to get their nature pathway validated scientifically. And we work as well with TNFD, which is the equivalent of TCFD, which is a task force for nature financial disclosure. So I was at Montreal for the COP15, the biodiversity COP, where it was a target 15 was agreed, and target 15 is about making it mandatory for companies to disclose on their nature dependency, which I think is absolutely critical. So how much Holcim took the lead on that is another thing I'm very proud of. And I won't spend time on the social, but we've done also a lot of work on how to, such as being one of the founding member of an initiative called Roof Over Our Head, Roof Over ROOH, which had the ambitious objective to get 1 billion people out of slums. So I think there was so many things we have done, and yeah, it's hard to pick which one I'm the most proud of, really.
Brilliant. So, of course, you've mentioned so many things that you've achieved during your career in Holcim. But in general, Magali, do you see that, of course, this is one leading company that's working towards net zero, and you were leading it. You were trying to do your best to ensure that everything is done the right way. You did mention in one of the discussions that we are having before that offset is definitely not the solution to everything. And many organizations are resorting to that because it's difficult. We understand that. And even for consumers as well, as they fly and they have to work, offset is the easy way forward. But that's not the solution, as we all know sometimes. And we do get a lot of backlash from the industry that, yes, we need to do more. So considering the heavy industry like mining, building materials, to become fully sustainable without resolving to things like greenwashing, offset as other solutions, is there a way forward? Can we actually have the dream fulfilled? Can we actually become fully sustainable, yet meeting the demands of the consumers?
No, you're right. I have a strong voice against offset. I'm actually not entirely against it. I understand that maybe some people have no other choice than doing offset, and in that case, it is a good way to funnel money to good projects if it's the right project.
Yeah.
So that I'm okay with. I'm against big companies that use it, and you said it very well, as an easy way out.
That's right. Yeah.
And because there's so many other things we need to do before we do offset. And the majority of hard to abate sector, which I always rename full of opportunities sector, the majority of those sectors have technical way of reducing CO2. Not easy, and that's why the word easy is so important. But offset becomes a distraction. They need to fully focus on doing that because there is not enough land on the planet to offset for all the CO2 we're emitting. So we don't have a choice. We need to reduce our emissions. Now, we have two ways of reducing it. We produce less, or we find technical avenues to produce without CO2. It will have to be a mix of both. We won't be able to do it. I know produce less is something that most companies, most industries, the public doesn't want to hear. When you ask someone, are you happy to stop buying clothes or to travel less for your vacation? Majority of people are not really wanting to
ready
do
for
that.
that. Yes, yeah.
So while we are changing those mentalities, we have no other choice, and we can't wait. So we need to move on the technology side. And technologies, of course, I don't know every single industries, but a lot of industries, there is a technological way out. So in the case of cement, 30% of the CO2 comes from heating up the kiln, and if you replace the fossil fuels by waste, you actually reduce almost to zero. We have cement plants with 98% replacement, so that's one. And then the second part, which is the clinker that comes out, you reduce how much clinker you put in the cement. Again, we know how to do it. We know how to use byproducts or other minerals. So that's another one. And the last one is carbon capture, which we know is going to be complex. We know the technology is not ready for scalability, etc. But it's not by offsetting we're going to fix that problem. We're going to fix that problem if we all get together to work on it and to put whatever it takes in terms of scientific resources and technical infrastructure and money to make it work. And if everyone agrees that it's one of the best way out, it's going to happen. So that's why offset for me is such a distraction that for big companies, we should have. Now, the fact of producing less, there is also a way there without necessarily to impacting your way of life, is thinking of things differently, thinking of selling systems instead of selling products, selling services instead of selling products again. So I would just name an example, which you certainly know. Most people know, but never really thought what it meant. I think it's for about 15 years ago when Philips decided to start selling light as a service. If you think about what it means that before, their incentive to make money was to sell as many bulbs as possible. Suddenly, the longer the bulb lasts, the more money they make because they are making money with selling the light itself, not the bulb. So they have turned around, they've pivoted what incentivizes them. And the less they produce bulbs, the more money they make. And that's extremely interesting. So each industry should look at, how do I make that in my industry? In the case of cement, it would be to say, we were studying with Holcim, or I think they are still studying, even if I'm not part of it anymore, a flooring system where you put much less cement. If you sell the flooring system itself, then you're incentivized to put less cement for obviously under the same norms, not something that's going to collapse, etc. But people will only be incentivized to do it if they sell the flooring system where putting less cement allow them to make more money. If they're just selling the cement, why would they be interested? Because they're selling less cement, so it's not interesting. So it's really the rethinking of your entire business model, which I think is fascinating. And each industry has to do it, and we would make so much progress if we were doing that without changing our lifestyle.
Yeah. So it's all about reinventing the business model altogether, if I say that, and then find a new way. So it's a difficult balance, because when we talk to all the FTSE 100, they are trying to balance between profit and doing good. So which is a difficult, considering shareholder values, the present change that's coming in terms of regulation, etc. And it is a difficult balance, but we are all hopeful that maybe we can achieve it at one point going forward. So yeah, just going forward with the discussion, Magali. So we are a very consumer-facing organization. We talk to lots of people on the ground, listening to them, and then communicating into the industries we work with. So in general, from a layman's perspective, we do get to understand that people are quite in a situation where they do ask us a lot of time that why different sectors and different industries are taking so long to transition to the net zero in terms of meeting the 1.5 degree target. Is it because it is more profit related, or it is there are some genuine factors like lack of new technology, regulations, infrastructure? What's your thought on that?
All of the above? No, it is a bit of all of the above. There is a bit of a game of passing the ball.
Yeah.
The industry say we need the regulations. The regulations say, well, why should we change the laws if the public doesn't want it? The public says, well, the industry should do it, etc., etc. So there's a bit of a passing the ball. So I think there's a moment where we all need to say we are concerned, we need to do it. So there need to be a general wake-up call. And when you see all those weather events happening everywhere now, those big fires, those big floodings, etc., I am hoping that that's going to trigger that awareness, that people understand that it's time to do something. But I think there is a lot of shyness of people because they're afraid of novelty. So let me give you an example. In Holcim, we decided to launch the low carbon concrete. So the definition of low carbon concrete is 30% lower CO2 than the standard concrete in a country. So it's country-based. When we launched it, everyone told us there's no market for it. So if we had been listening to marketing people or market surveyors or whatever you call these people, we would have never launched it because people said there is no market for it. And I told them, well, maybe there is no market because there is no product, So at some stage, someone needs to decide to become the chicken and someone else becomes the eggs. We can't just continue saying there is no market. So we launched it all over the world. Something like after 1 year, we were in 25 different countries. Within 3 years, this was representing more than 20% of the total sales of concrete of Holcim. Right. And when is the last time you heard a company launching a new product which became 20% of their total sales within 3 years? So there is a moment where people need to take those bold decisions and say, there will be a market. And you know what? This concrete in most places is sold with a small premium. So it's not even a sacrifice of money. And investors hear that very well. But there's, I don't know if shyness is a word, maybe conservatism is a better word, of business as usual. We've been doing it that way for the last 30, 40 years, so we continue doing it that way. But there is a place for new models. There is a public that is more and more aware of the origin of the product, of the way the product was made, etc. Again, if I continue with concrete, the cost of concrete in a building of some kind is about 5% of the total cost. So imagine and it represents a huge share of the CO2 of that construction. So when the first net zero concrete will come out with CCUS, imagine how much we'll be able to sell it because the impact is so little, and people who will really want to go to zero will have at a quite small cost a great possibility to do it. I always give the example of organic food. People are willingly buying more expensive food every single day. So they increase their food budget every single day because they understood why it's important to eat organic food. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a matter of expanding that to everything else.
Yes, yeah, it's a consumer awareness and the interest of going and reaping that benefit that the product or services are offering for us to all go towards net zero. I think it is, as you said, it is a consumer industry partnership that we all need so that we all can go ahead and make it happen. So brilliant. So going towards careers within sustainability, Magali, you have done it yourself. What do you think? What would your advice be to someone who is looking to transition or embark into a career in sustainability?
If you talk about someone senior like me, I was super lucky that when Jan Jenisch, the CEO of Holcim, and the board of directors decided to create that position, they offered it to me because I had zero sustainability experience, right? I had a team of experts working for me, but me, clearly, I was not. So I tell people regularly, it's important to have sustainability experts, but it's also important to have business experts or industry experts like I was, who know how to change things, who understand the business and how to change the business. And so if you take someone with this type of profile who is passionate about sustainability, you will achieve great results. It has to be a mix of those both populations. But a lot of companies are still very shy to do that, and our headhunters are still very shy to take someone like that. And I tell them regularly, I said, you should take my CV, remove my last job. So take the CV with that doesn't contain the word sustainability anywhere, present it to some people who are looking for a CSO and ask them, would you take that person? And if they tell you no, tell them then who I am and what I have done. And I'm not saying I should use myself as a model, but to explain that we need to get out of the traditional things that you have to do your entire life in sustainability to become a CSO. We need people from sustainability because we need that expertise. There's no question about it. But we also need people from the business passionate about it, who will be the one who will drive the change of business model, because they're the one who understand it.
Yeah.
And headhunters and companies need to understand that and give a chance to these people. And I was lucky enough that someone gave me my chance, but I'm sure that externally no one would have recruited me, which would have been sad, I think.
Yeah, it would have been a shame because people usually look for technical expertise, but there's strategic expertise, which is so invaluable and which is needed because we need role models and we need leaders. So yes, of course, I 100% agree with you. So now that you have moved forward, and so on your personal front, Magali, and on the professional front, what are your plans as we race towards 2030 for a sustainable world? What are your plans going ahead?
I moved forward because I felt that I had given a lot to Holcim. Holcim had given a lot to me. And I was not sure I could give much more because we had already put the strategy in place. Everything was ongoing. The team was fantastic. So I felt that going forward, I was not going to have such an impact anymore. And that's why I wanted to move, and I wanted to take a bit of time for myself, for my family, to take care of my parents, to my dog, my kids. Maybe the kids come before the dog, not sure. My husband, not sure where he comes at the middle of that. But all the things that I don't think I ever had more than 2 weeks break in 34 years. So I was looking forward to have a break, and that's what I did. And I'm doing a bit of writing. I'm still talking to a lot of people, including startups, mentoring type of things. And I'm looking for my next adventure, and my next adventure, which is not decided yet. But I said I will not say anything before 2024. We are in 2024, but I haven't decided yet. The only thing that drives me right now is big impact, is how to change mentalities, mindsets. I think in industries, in the construction industries, I believe I had an impact. Can I do it in another industry? But really very happy in my skin, and very happy in what we achieve and what the team achieved. And I know they are continuing to do it in Holcim, so I have no worries about what's happening there right now.
Wow, that's a brilliant thought to leave at, awesome. So I think there's a great future for you, and we are looking forward to seeing more of you and more of the things that you would do. So I will keep an eye on that, and we will be celebrating that for sure. Thank you so much, Magali, for your time and for the brilliant insights that you have brought to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Big Time Sustainability. Please share, subscribe, and join us again next time.
If you are a change maker or know someone who is making a big difference in their community or globally and should be on this show, please email us at podcast@thebigsynergy.org or visit www.thebigsynergy.org.